So, Miss Carol Linn, ladies and gentlemen.
Listen, listen, my children, and you will hear of the midnight ride of Paul Revere. It was April 1775, and now there is no man alive who remembers that day and year. How many of you recognize that old poem by Longfellow? Yeah. You know how the rest goes, don't you? Remember, Paul Revere had his friend staking out in the old church tower, looking to see where the British would start coming to invade. Would it be by land or would it be by sea? And Paul said to him, put up a lantern in the old North Church. If they come by land, put up one, and if by sea, put up two. And as it turned out, there were two lanterns in the church tower. Paul Revere jumped on his horse, rode all throughout the Boston area, sounding the alarm in the middle of the night, starting at midnight, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. People in their beds were stirred, and we all know that story, don't we? And then they beat the redcoats, and we all lived happily ever after, right?
Oh, wow.
It was all over. I mean, we just did one big battle, beat those people, sent them back to Europe, and now we have nothing to worry about. Actually, I wish that was the case, but it's not. We were even warned at the time that our Declaration and our Constitution were put in place that this freedom that was so hard fought and won would not stay free. It would continue to cost us everything. And we could never forget that, or we would lose it. I feel that we have forgotten that, and that's why I'm running for an office in the state of Wyoming. Thomas Jefferson and some of our other framers told us that when we gave power to people, even under a great document that they drafted for us, we would still have to continue to be vigilant and to fight for that freedom to be protected, because they knew, they were wise men, and they were wise women, by the way. Abigail Adams was her husband's right-hand man. He took more advice from her than any other man, and he was one of our founding fathers. They knew that we would continue to be in danger of tyranny, because that's the nature of people. Human nature is corrupt. Every one of us is subject to that corruption. Every one of us needs to be held accountable. And we have been falling down on the job. 230 years later now, we have pretty much abandoned our post. We have a tower, a north tower of the church as well. It's more of a symbolic one. And we're not keeping our eyes on that tower, because if we were, we would see that there are lanterns burning in that tower now, warning us of invasion, not from the shores, not from land, but insidious things that are infiltrating our society from within. People are telling us our Constitution's not important anymore. It's just an old document. It doesn't mean that much. It's outdated. I disagree. People tell us that when our state legislature passes laws that contravene or violate our Wyoming state constitution, that it's not really such a big deal, because, well, we can trust those people. They're all people who are born and raised in Wyoming for the most part. They're good old boys. We can trust them. They wouldn't do anything to hurt us. Well, you know, maybe they're simply wrong, and maybe they're not bad people, but when they pass a law that is in contravention of our Constitution, it is dangerous, and it is a big deal, and it does step on the feet of those of us who are the real people in charge of this state, and that is the voters. We're told that our system of law, look at the front of your t-shirts, all three systems of law are put in place by and for the protection and the happiness of the people. We're told in our Constitution that all powers not delegated to the federal government are reserved for the states and, or it says, or the people. We, the people, have so much more power than we're exercising. And while we do not exercise it, it is being taken away. Now, I I think that the people who are currently holding office, especially in the Wyoming state legislature, are banking on the fact that we only have 56% of those in the state who are eligible to vote actually registered to vote. And maybe half of those people generally show up at election time. That means 23% of 56%. Of course they're going to take advantage of us if they think they can do whatever they want and we're not watching, we're sleeping. We're sleeping. We need to be like Paul Revere and his man in the church tower. We need to be holding them accountable, and we need to hold ourselves accountable. When we do not register and vote, then we are not being accountable to our own gifts that we have been granted by our Creator and by those who came before us. The original men and women who fought the redcoats and shed their blood, but all of those that we honor tonight and our fallen heroes who continue to sacrifice for this country up until this very day. We just lost our highest ranking military official, I think ever, or at least in modern conflicts, the other day. A major general was killed in our fighting in the Middle East. That's a sad day. And I just think that we can do better to be better citizens ourselves, and at least make sure that we register to vote. That's really the least we can do when people have died for our freedom. So if you'll notice, there's a board over there. It's a white board, and I wasn't there to give the orders when it was being put up, or it would be up higher. Sorry about that. You have to bend over to kind of read it. But it gives you some sample ballots of all of Natrona County. Natrona County has 4 Senate districts. I'm running for Senate District 27. And then each Senate district has 2 House districts in that Senate district. You can see my sample ballots and if you fall in my district, and then you can see who else is running for the House over there. Please check that out. If you don't know what your precinct and your districts are, you can take the link information that's written over there on that board, and you can put it in your smartphone, and you can easily find out where you would go to vote on August 19th. And so now you all look so comfortable, but I have to ask you to do something, if you would. I would like everybody just to stand up for me, please. All right, so now, of all of you who are standing up, I want everybody who's 18 years or younger to go ahead and sit back down. So if you're not 18, you can sit down again. If you do not live in Natrona County, go ahead and sit down. All right, everybody standing lives in Natrona County and is older than 18. Okay? Now, everybody that's standing up is somebody who's older than 18 and lives in Natrona County. Now, those of you who are already registered to vote, I want you to sit down. If you are registered to vote, sit down. If you are not registered to vote, stay standing. Mr. Linn, my husband over here, is going to bring you a little yellow ball. And when he gives you that, you can sit down. So please just stay standing until he gives you that ball. Now, why am I doing that? You guys are the only ones here tonight that are not yet registered to vote, and your vote counts. Now, if you pick up one of my pieces of literature on my table, you may think that it doesn't matter and it doesn't do any good anyway. I'm telling you, it does do a lot of good. Kendall Croker, who's here tonight, won his House District seat last election cycle by 3 votes. You could be one of 3 people to put me in office tonight. So you need to go register to vote and tell your friends to go register to vote. You can do it at the county courthouse any day, any time. Or you can go to the polling place that you'll find online and go to your polling place on election day, August 19th, and you can register right there. You just need all you need is your driver's license, and you can then vote on election day. Either way, please do that. Now you can sit down if you want to. The other thing that I'd like to ask of you is that there are several great conservative candidates represented here tonight that I invited to be a part of this. We all need your support in this election. We need you to tell your friends. We need you to share our websites with them. We need you to ask us questions if you're not yet convinced that you should vote for us, so that we can tell you where we stand on issues. Every one of us who is challenging a legislative seat from Natrona County that's here tonight, was against Senate File 104, which was passed last time in 2013 by our state legislature. Let me tell you real quickly what that means. Our state constitution said that our state would have 5 elected executive offices. The Secretary of State, the Secretary, the Auditor, the Treasurer, the Governor, and the Superintendent of Public Instruction. Every one of those offices is to be an elected position in the state of Wyoming. Under the Secretary, or excuse me, the Superintendent of Public Instruction, our Constitution says that that person will have responsibility for the general supervision of the Department of Education, or of public schools in the state of Wyoming. What Senate File 104 did was it took most all of the responsibilities of the Superintendent of Public Instruction away from that person and designated a director of the Department of Education who would be appointed by the governor. Okay? What that means is 20% of the people elected by the people of Wyoming really lost their power down to 80%. We lost 20% because now, if that would have stayed in place, that would have meant our superintendent that we elected would not answer to us. It would be a director who was appointed by the governor, and if we didn't like what they were doing, too bad, doesn't matter. I don't think that's correct, and our Supreme Court didn't think that was correct, and that's one reason. Not the only reason. There are several things that we're running on, but that's one reason that many of us are running for an office and why we're asking you to support us, because we think that we represent you, the people of Wyoming, and that's really what it's about. Government's become too big. It's become too much about the federal government. It's become too much about, even the press is now representing large corporations. Did you know that in 1950 there were 60 different companies that owned media outlets, newspapers, TV and radio stations in this country? Today we have 6 companies that control all of our media. And when you read the newspaper, I hate to even call it a newspaper. I call it the paper or the publication that calls itself a newspaper, because they do not adhere to high standards of journalism. Now, am I trying to criticize them and throw them under the bus? No. I'm talking about accountability. It's up to us to hold them accountable and to tell them what we think. I think they can do better. We need to tell them that they can do better. And we can do better with who we've put in the House of Representatives and the Senate for the state of Wyoming as well. So we really ask for your vote tonight. And because I think that it's such an honor that they are here with us, I'm going to give just a couple of minutes to a couple other important people to come up and say a few words as well. I'd like the 2 people who are challenging the U.S. Senate seats to come up and speak to us for a moment. And you've heard them introduced earlier. Come on up, Thomas. We have Lieutenant Colonel retired from the U.S. Air Force, Brian Miller, and we also have, I don't know your rank, I'm sorry, Thomas, but Thomas Blemming, who has 2 very, very important medals that he was given for. In one case, he saved the lives of 5 people when he was under heavy fire in Vietnam, and he took out 3 machine gun bunkers also. This man is a war hero, and he is deserving of our respect, and I ask you to help me honor these gentlemen.